We're on.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, for another fabulous virtual tasting with us here at Becker Vineyards. We have some really awesome people with us tonight. We're doing a vertical tasting of Jet Wilmoth's Cabernet Sauvignon Reserves. We have got, of course, Dr. Richard Becker with us, John Leahy. We've also got Mr. Jet Wilmoth himself and Brett Pernew on. I believe we're going to be tasting the 2016 first and then working our way down to the 2014. But I'm going to pass it over to the gentleman so that I can get my wine open. Let's get started, y'all.
Thanks for that introduction, Kaylin. That's awesome. Hey, Doc, would you like to shoot us into the stratosphere, sir?
I wish I didn't have to say this, as I've said for the last 7 or 8 months, but just to reach out to everyone who's fighting this battle. The battle's gotten more intense in every way in the last few weeks in Texas and in the United States, and the healthcare providers, everyone just absolutely at the limit of what they can do. But we have the hope of the vaccine being close at hand, and I hope I think it's going to make a gigantic difference. But just our thoughts, prayers to all the people fighting this fight. And encourage everyone that now is the moment to intensify everything in terms of masks and distancing and protecting yourself and people around you. This is the hour. If we could just get to the vaccine, we can get clear of this. And we have this really bright tasting. I think some of the very best wine ever made in Texas in front of us tonight. And we have the guy that produced the grapes and the guy that made the wine, and we have the guy that organizes the whole mechanical operation. So and we have Kayla. So it's going to be fun. Thank you.
Well, on that happy note, Brett, which one are you? Are you the guy?
I thought I was the one that was the fun guy. You know?
Yeah, fun guy. So
The guy that turns the wheels, Brett.
So, Jeff, we haven't had you on in a few months, sir. How are things up in the High Plains?
I was about to comment that Brett's not much fun when I call him at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you're the fun guy, I hope.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's good to know, right?
Yes. And Dr. Becker, thank you for your comment about my hat earlier. You liked it, and
I do like it. Yeah.
Answer you earlier. I'm doing well. I'm Rona free. My employees are Rona free, and my family, so we're good. And I hate that so many people are sick, but I think you can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. So
Yes.
I'm trying to be as positive as possible, especially with Christmas coming on. My
Yeah.
wife put up the Christmas tree, and so that's going to lead me to my first little story. We were in a chicken express, I believe, and they had a little Christmas tree over in the corner, and it's a really small, around diameter, but really tall tree. And I commented to the lady working there. I was like, "Well, that's a unique tree. What do you call that?" And she said, "That's a Christmas tree." I said, "Oh, yes, I understand that's a Christmas tree, but it's a certain type of Christmas tree because it's specially made." She said, "Well, the owner calls it a pencil tree." I said, "Well, I'm a little let down being town we're in a chicken place. I figured to be called a pole tree."
Stop. That's it. Okay,
She
Kayla,
loved
take
it.
him off the air now.
She loved it.
Well, with that happy note, why don't we get on to the 2016?
Okay.
That was good. I'm going to save that.
Exactly. Brett, 2016 harvest.
Oh, I'm going to defer to Jed again. We were talking as I was driving to the winery, and I'm down in the cellar. Here I got stuck here a little bit later than I thought, so I didn't make it home in time. But Jed and I were talking that his big portion of this is going to be the background between the vintages, because these guys really remember all that stuff. But I just remember it was a big follow up to the 15 stuff. But Jed, I'm going to defer that to you because I don't really remember much about 16 for some reason.
I'm the same way. It's a long time ago. I've slept since then, But if I remember correctly, it was a little more, of course, wetter than we have right now. We're in a severe drought that I can hardly stand, but we dodged a few little thunderstorms during harvest and managed to get the fruit in and safe and in y'all's hands. We had a good harvest that year. In fact, all the years coming up to 19 was our latest big harvest, and then now we're dealing with the drought and the freeze from 19, the Halloween of 19. But 16, a lot of long night hours spent and coordinating of trucks and such, and you know, the whole program takes a lot of people. And my wife is back then, she was still gainfully employed at the school as a school nurse, and so she would stay up until 2 or 3 and then leave it to us, and hopefully we had all the numbers and the things we had corrected and finished up the harvest and sent the truck on its way.
You know, I would like to interject at this point in time and say that I'm pretty convinced it's gay that keeps you on the straight and narrow. So,
Yes, sir.
every single bin marked and uniquely marked and weighed. I love that. So yeah, as far as that end of it goes. But I remember the 16 because as Brett alluded to, follow up on the 15, but it was basically the third vintage in a row that was like how these are starting to get better and better as each year goes on. You know, it's a wonderful follow-up on the 15 harvest. The 15 was such a fantastic harvest. But 16 was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I know 17 is we have the demarcation point of 17 is a great harvest, but
Yes.
the 16 fruit was just beautiful and really can taste that in here. And I do want to get everybody's opinion in there, but first we need to get the cat in on this, Kaylin, apparently.
Yes, I've tried to keep her out. She just took a spill in my Riedel wine glass, which or not my glass, but my box. That's super fun. But she wants to take all of the thunder from everyone. Please don't let her distract from how beautiful this wine is.
Well, what do you get on your notes, Kaylin, on the wine? You just opened them, and then we've got stuff that's been open for 2 hours. I think that's a fun comparison.
Yes, so it's really interesting. I anticipated there'd be quite a bit of fruit on this, and I do get some really lovely dark fruit components, but I'm getting quite a bit of brown spice notes and maybe something that is bordering on the edge of anise, and it's very, very pleasant. It's very beautiful. It's still very bright considering that it's been in bottle and retired from our tasting lineup for a while now. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's been in bottle for a couple of years. Not that long, to be honest. I mean, we bottled it in 2018, so yeah. So it's of the three. I mean, it's still got a long way to go as far as the age goes. Brett, what are you getting?
Well, I'm trying to pull up the tasting. I'm trying to pull it up on Vin Trace because I wanted to see the date that we picked this, but I'm getting a lot of like the leather notes and the mature, tannins from the barrel program, and then also the fact that how long it's been sitting in the cellar. I get those dark kind of brambly notes that you would assume that would be with a Cabernet of this caliber and this type. So that's what I'm tasting.
Yeah, so because we bottled it. I just pulled up my notes. We bottled it October 2018, so literally 24 months after going to barrel. So 25 months. But Doc, what do you get, sir?
You know, I'm so impressed with these wines, and our goal has always been, I think what Bobby Cox said back in the 80s, if we could make wines that will compete with the wines of Bordeaux. And I get a lot of Bordeaux notes in this, especially pencil lead from a young Latour. I would love to have these wines in front of some Bordeaux winemakers. It would be fun to, and not tell them where we were from, and see what they would say.
I bet I'm feeling like maybe come July, we might be able to do that.
Don't drink all this wine. We can
Okay,
take a little
so-
bit of Bordeaux with us. Yeah,
Make a note of it. Keep Rebecca out of the cellar.
that's right.
So Jet, what do you think, sir?
Well, I love it.
Mhm.
It's like you say that it's got some unique notes on the nose. So when you sharpen your pencil,
Yes.
that
And then-
smell.
A little cedar and a little graphite.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So
And
I have
that's
a
the
question
first
for
thing
you.
that I smell is that.
So I have a question for you, Jet, in all earnest. I mean, you have such excellent taste in shirts. So many
What
things
about
we
that?
share the same shirt closet.
Well, how did this
Hey.
happen?
Well, it's great minds think alike sometimes.
Where's your hat?
I cannot wear a hat, Jet. As much as I've tried, I just have never found a hat that looks good on me.
What?
Yeah. I
Let
had
me be
one.
the judge of that.
I had one really nice beaver felt Stetson years and years ago that I absolutely loved, and somebody played a practical joke on me and put it in a dishwasher.
Well, that doesn't work very well.
No, it does not. So anyway, the real question is, back in 2012, when I first started this job, you asked me, can you make Cabernet? I want to know, I may be opening myself up wide here, but are you happy with the job?
I've noticed that you're getting better.
Okay. That I'll take.
We all have, Jet. That's well said.
Sorry, John, you're leaving me.
No,
with a
this is a family-friendly environment, Jet.
Okay.
So, any particular notes on this one that you're picking up?
Currant.
Okay. All right. Now,
Blackberry.
somebody just said your blackberry is good, but somebody just said that your shirt's prettier than mine. So, just so you know.
Oh, bless them. Yours is more Hawaiian.
It is. It's actually, it really is more Hawaiian. This is brand spanking new. So I wanted to wear it tonight just for you, Jet, so it looked pretty.
Okay.
Well, it seems I'm coordinated with y'all. It's almost like we had a memo sent out about
I
it.
know. I noticed that. You know,
A little
the
bit.
odd people out are the really weirdos like Doc and Brett.
I don't think I've ever seen a Magellan shirt in that color,
We'll work on it. We'll find you one.
because I think I own them all.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Doc, what tasting through the 16, and I think we'll go back. I don't know. We'll do the foods individually, but tasting the youngest first. What have you noticed throughout the years? The constant with Wilmeth Vineyards, with Jet's place, and the fruit.
I think this balance, all the components of Bordeaux are somehow coming out of a vineyard in Tokyo, Texas.
Right.
And here they are. It's wonderful to see you got them in through the barrel and into the bottle, Sean. That's the beauty of this. But wonderfully balanced, and always this very soft, sort of moderate tannins. They're never sharp. They're never angular, and a nice balance of fruit and tannin and all the forest floor, humus and saddle leather and all those things. But especially pencil that in this. That's why I'm thinking about Latour. Be fun to taste this in 20 years.
It would absolutely.
It really would.
So, Jet, is it really expensive to get the fruit from Latour to Tokyo and then give it to us?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I want to mention real quick before we get too far in this lineup of wines that we have
Mhm.
is some of the most decorated wines that we've had ever, as far as how big of an awards they got. And Rebecca sent me the whole list, and it includes golds, double golds. And the problem is they're on my phone that I'm recording myself from, so I can't get them off without y'all looking at my finger. But the amount of awards that this vineyard has garnered going back since, we started in 2007 that's no small feat. And for all of us involved, it's been pretty special, I think. So I'll get the list of awards here in a second. Kaylin's going to text them to me, I'm sure. Or Kaylin, you probably
I've got them.
Yeah. But this particular one.
The 2016 got gold from the San Francisco and silver at the rodeo in Houston. And I've got to open up that email too. I believe it's the 2015 and 2014, the double golds on there.
Yeah, the double gold I know for sure was the 15, but
yeah,
as we went back, we started hanging medals on these guys. Their shoulders would be sloping from all the awards that they got, every single one of them. So, we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah, it's damn good fruit, but don't tell Jet that. So his head's going to get big, and he's going to have to buy an 8.5 size hat. So
I think we just signed a new contract last year. I think we're good for 5 more years.
For 5 more years.
No, I didn't send it. I don't know.
Nice. So Jet, somebody just gave me a ration of crap because I have no hat, but they asked me if I owned cowboy boots, and I'm like, well, if Lucchese's count, I own more than one pair, and no, cattle on my property. I can only have one cow calf pair here. I have an acre. So, a rancher, I am not. All right. Any final comments on the 16 before we start going to the 15? I'm really kind of excited to start going backwards down here and compare these wines against each other on this vertical, since they're just 1 year apart. So if they're not, I want to jump to the 15. Here, I have an acre. And get some input here. So everybody wants to grab their 15 and give it a swirl and a sniff and a taste.
What a nose. Yeah.
That nose is coming forward.
And the pencil lead just is fabulous in this, I think.
Yeah. Real quick too, just so everybody knows. So in the 2016, the blend, the cab was 81%, the Merlot 17%. Both of those from Wilmeth, and then we put 2% Cab Franc in there. I put 2% Cab Franc in there from the High Plains. So it's 98% Wilmeth, 2% non-Wilmeth, which qualifies still as vineyard designate, 95%. But that Cab Franc for the 16 just seemed to add a nice little round on the back end. Wow, this 15 is forever on the nose. Brett, will you lead off on that? Because 15 was a very interesting year.
Yeah, I think what I'm getting on this nose was it's a lot to compare to the 16. I think it's got a lot more brighter fruit, like blueberry. And even though it's older, to me, it's even brighter than what the 16 was. But that's just what I'm tasting, I guess. But 15 was kind of a year that we thought we were going to hang our hat on until 17 came along. But 15 was a huge year for us. We brought in, I think, around 12 or 1,300 tons of fruit from the state of Texas in that vintage, and we were pretty excited to see it. And again, going back to these wines that have won big awards, this was the vintage that we won double gold in San Francisco with this one, and then the Canada that we're having next week, our Reserve Merlot from 2016, and then our Raven that was 2015, I think. I got it sitting down here, but it was 14. Okay, 14. And that was also the reason why we had to change the name on the Raven, and the fact that we got a little publicity.
Got punished for making a good wine.
Yeah. I told y'all, if you wouldn't have left it out, if you wouldn't have put it in the competition, it'd still have that name. But I think that, again, to me, this one is one that Jed, as we go back and taste your wines in the library down here, this one to me it's dang sure slated to be here for a long time, and we saved a lot of it. I think, if I remember right, somewhere around 375, 400 cases or something like that out of this batch came down here and got put in this library program so that we can have it in 20 years, hopefully.
Yeah, this I'm going to jump in early with this before we go on. Well, let's get through. So, Doc, what are your impressions on the 15?
I was going to tell Jet, you know, when I grew up in West Texas, Jet, almost everyone, every man had a pencil behind his ear. Do you remember that? And apparently in West Texas, you didn't just take the pencil out and write with it. You always, wet it in your mouth first before you wrote. You remember that, Jet?
I do. I don't know why they did that.
But they sure did.
Other than it's dry out here, I don't know.
But they wanted us to be able to taste the graphite in this wine. That's where that came from. And that's a gift. That's a gift to us from
Okay.
everybody we grew up with.
It only took 3 dozen pencils to get it in there too. So you know. So we know. So drinking Wilmouth Cab puts lead in your pencil. Is that what you're saying, Doc?
It's not the same thing. Shakespeare says it takes it out. But anyway, that's a separate issue.
So Jet, what do you think, sir, of the 15? And what about the 15 harvest?
15 harvest was easier than the 16.
Mhm.
We didn't have as many thunderstorms roaming around, and we didn't. It was a little drier that year compared to the 14 and the 16.
Mhm.
That's my recollection. And on the notes, I didn't even pick it up in the 16 until I tasted the 15. But seems to me like there's a teeny bit of bell pepper.
Yes.
On the 16 compared to the 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that teeny bit more bell pepper in the 16 would be from the Cab Franc.
Okay.
Now there's no Cab Franc in the 15. This is 100% Wilmouth Vineyards. The Diamante Doble Vineyards. This is the 80% Cab and 20% Merlot. Yep, and all of it aged. This one actually aged a little more in new oak than we normally do. And I don't really want to go into how much French oak is there because I don't want to get in trouble. But I may have put a fair amount of French oak on that Cabernet. I'm just saying, it might have happened. So but we had about 40% new oak overall in this program. Normally we're a little lower than that. We're about half that normally. But that fruit was just the Merlot and the Cab both in 15 were fantastic. Nice small berries. I remember you not being very happy about how small the berries were, and then accusing me of being ecstatic. And you were right. I was very happy to see it. That nice skin to juice ratio in the 15 was the same in the 17 harvest too. At 17 but the 15, and it's showing so well now 5 years later. It's doing very, very well. Still a young wine.
So what's the harvest date on this one? Do you have that in your notes?
I don't have the exact harvest date on these notes. I was just looking on there. Brett, do you have the harvest dates pulled up or no?
I'm trying to find it, but this computer, every time I click on it, it brings me like on our winery side, it doesn't like wines that are already bottled. It gives me like 3,000 results, but it doesn't show the date we picked it.
I thought it was like the second or third week of September, but I could be wrong.
That's what I remember, John.
Yeah,
Me too. Yeah.
Because we've been as early as late August with some of the Cab, but I think on 15, I don't think we were that early. I think we were hitting kind of the stride.
Yeah, you said in the 16 it was October.
Yeah.
So I was thinking probably in September, but later to September. But like you said, the small berries would be due to less rainfall during the year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't expand the berries.
So is there any way you could put little umbrellas up over each cluster if it's raining? No? Okay.
No, you get whatever Mother Nature sends us. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So Kaylin, what do you think of the 15?
I agree with what Brad said, that the fruit is brighter. It's not as deep as what I'd gotten on the 16. I think it's absolutely lovely. I feel out of the loop here. I don't know about the graphite thing or the pencil situation, but for me, it does carry a little bit less what I perceive as herbaceousness than the 16 does. It's very bright and just absolutely lovely. The tannins on them, this wine is just beautiful. It's smooth. I think that this is a wine that I'm going to save in my freezer for a while and open on a special occasion.
Well, yeah, the minerality does come out in the 15 more. And, you know, just a note on tasting and descriptors, it's it's definitely individual. There's some common things that we can all agree on. Like we all know what, or most everybody knows what a blueberry smells like or a strawberry. But, you know, it really does go back to what your common experiences in your past, like familiar smells, familiar scents, you know, tastes that you remember as either a child or young adult or current. Those are the things that are going to pop into your mind first. You know, scent is a great memory enhancer. It will bring back a memory. It clicks things in. You know, every time I smell cedar in a Cabernet, like I do now, that edge of cedar, I actually always think of being up in the Northeast. My grandparents had a nice little place, and it always smelled the cedar-lined cabinets, and I could smell that in wine. So that immediately, that's what I think of as when I'm thinking cedar.
Hey, so I had to get off the fancy, you know, really expensive computer system that Dr. Becker lets us use in the cellar. Went back to the Excel spreadsheet that I got.
Yeah.
And the Merlot was picked. We did one batch of Merlot of 24 tons on like the 22nd of August.
Mm-hmm.
And then we picked a small batch the next day, and then we picked a big batch the following 2 days later. And then we finished with the Merlot on the 27th of August.
Oh,
and in that vintage, we got over 50 tons of Merlot from that vineyard. And I remember Jet, that's maybe when we started talking about the Jet Black and Jealous song that you refer to all the time, because they were so dark and black. And then we picked Cabernet on September 4th, 5th, and 6th, and got in about 45 tons of that cab fruit. So that was a good year.
So it was the first week of September then for the Cabernet?
Yeah. And the Merlot was a week before that, roughly.
Right. So somebody asked question here, Jet, directed at you. How many acres of fruit at your vineyard, and what other winemakers get your fruit?
Have 100 acres of vineyard here.
Mm-hmm.
And I manage my brothers and Six Hearts. We sell to about 16 different wineries across the state.
No. You sell your fruit to somebody else?
Yes, I'm sorry. Well, you won't buy it all, so I have to go somewhere. Yeah, I sell to quite a few of the older and well-known wineries.
Mhm.
And also have Texas Custom Wine Works that has several customers that some of my fruit ends up at Texas Custom Wine Works to make projects for some of the other wineries. Okay. So I spent a lot of time at the pencil sharpener, and that's how I picked up that.
I believe it.
Hey, Jet, who buys the most?
Let me think. Becker?
You know, I'm gonna start wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, you can put on the leather jacket. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So, Doc, somebody wants to know if you're eating pecans with this wine.
I'm eating pecans from San Saba, and it's the perfect accompaniment. Wonderful.
Wait! I thought that you saved your fresh pecans for Chardonnay.
I've discovered they go great with cab too, Jet.
Oh,
Try it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to be very careful, Jet, because eventually we're only going to serve pecans with wine at the winery.
You know what it doesn't go good with? Petite Syrah. We tried that last week for our wine club flight to keep it on the Chardonnay, and it did not jive with Petite Syrah in most people's opinion.
Well, were they fresh or were they roasted?
Oh, we were getting the same. Yeah, we have a guy in Fredericksburg that calls us when they hit the door for Doc. So he has the fresh Pawnee pecans that they just picked in San Saba.
Okay, well, you may have to try the roasted ones with Petite Syrah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my monster cat there, Kaylin. That was just for you.
I thought it was.
He's decided that he wants to join. My worry is now he's going to rip off the electrical cords.
I'm very worried about my whole situation here. A
Okay.
lot of books and things stuffed up.
So we've got the first two down. I want to do a little bit more comparison. And Doc, I want you to lead this off, and we'll do all three eventually. But between the 15 and 16, similarities and differences.
The similarities are, of course, the graphite and the Bordeaux notes. Maybe a little more depth in the 15, a little more richness. It's just going to be fun to watch them evolve.
Mhm.
But I think it deserves a double gold medal in San Francisco, probably twice. How many times we enter it? Pardon me.
Oh, we've only got the double gold twice on the same vintage on one wine, which was kind of fun. So
And it was an accident.
yeah, it was an accident setting that wine the second year, but it was kind of funny that it got a double gold the second year. That was talk about, slim odds doing that. So Brett, similarities and differences?
Well, I think if you come to the winery and you try Jet's cab versus some of our other cabs that we have, I think that they are very distinguished in their type and the kind of wine that they are. But I think that Jet's always has a blueberry note, and I can definitely tell it between the two. So if I'm tasting between the 15 and the 16, I do think I could pick up a little more of that herbaceousness on the 16, but I also am so preconceived because of the Cab Franc edition that we just talked about that maybe that's why I'm so hooked on it. But I just think that the 15 is got that, like, it's still got bright fruit, whereas the 16 is a little more muted and it's a little more leathery, and it's just, and again, I think that if you guys, Doc, you guys can answer this, like, if you were going to pick one to age longer, which one do you think would age longer? Is there a difference? Yes or no?
I don't think so. I think they'll all age very well for a long time.
Okay.
Mhm. So Jet, the differences and similarities that you've picked up on these first two?
Well, as I spoke about earlier, is the 16 has the little bit of bell pepper,
Mhm.
and the 15 has a little bit more of maybe the cedar you're talking about. It's the 15's just a teeny bit smoother.
Now, are you tasting the Wilmoth or the Canada Jet? We
I'm
should.
tasting the Wilmoth, Brett, my wife. Thank you. Okay.
Hey, so I'm gonna tell the big oops backstory again that we were sending Jet these wines to taste tonight, and somebody sent in the wrong box and shipped them to Canada, and I don't know who put that order in on accident or on purpose. It might have been John, but luckily he had some in his stash.
My wife's holding back on. She's holding it so I can't see it, and she brought it out and saved us. But she only did that in lieu of you sending me 3 more bottles so she can replace in her stash.
Well, we're gonna send her 3 of each, and you get none of those again because she needs to hide them, right?
Exactly. They all go to her.
Okay, deal.
Okay.
Jen, how many miles is Mrs. Canada's vineyard from yours, the Canada vineyard? How many? 10?
Oh, no, more than that. It's 15 miles to Plains, and then it's another probably 12 miles west from Plains to their place. So 30 miles.
Because they're very different tastes. And I love both wines. I truly love them.
And Neil Newsom's vineyard is halfway between.
Yeah.
Okay.
Soil differences between your vineyard and hers. How do
Big difference.
And why? What
Well, they've got a lot more calcareous pop, and they I don't know if you call it. Yeah, it's a little darker soil in that calcareous. We've got a more reddish color, sandy loam, with a calcareous base down there. Different depths, but on one end of the vineyard, the oldest cab is closer to the calcareous, the caliche soil. On the north end, it's 6 foot.
Well, Who has the bigger rocks? Bigger rocks.
Um,
And
I can go to another place in my farm and I'll rival anybody as far as rocks go. But in my vineyard, I don't have, we don't dig up our rocks, so I don't know. I'm gonna say that Brenda could beat me in the rock business.
Uh,
That was a good one, John.
uh,
Throwing rocks, you know.
all I can say is I think I'm working in the right place.
Mhm.
Oh,
Uh-oh, Brett's lost.
no, Brett's gonna, we're gonna be called on the carpet by Brett on Saturday.
Shelby was calling me, probably asking me what to feed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Sure.
You missed it.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, feed all the goats, feed all the good dogs. You'll be all right.
Oh, that's great. So, Kaylin, you need to speak up. What
Okay.
between
So
the two?
The 16 to me is a bit more tannic. It's not astringent in any way, but the tannins are definitely more present. And I would anticipate that in a younger wine.
Mhm.
I do think the big difference that I'm able to perceive would be just the difference in the fruit. So for me, the fruit content on the 2016 cab is much darker, deeper, richer. The 15 is a little bit smoother, just due to those softer tannins, but the fruit is brighter, like I had mentioned. And as Jet had talked about, I'm not picking up any of that pyrazine content that I was getting a little bit on the 16. And I just think they're both very beautiful, and it's great to be able to see them side by side, because this is my first chance to ever do so. And so I'm very excited about this whole situation.
Perfect.
So John, do you remember why we put the Cab Franc in the 16?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Because I thought it made it taste yummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had talked about it. So it actually started off as an outlier between the blends that we were doing with the Merlot and Malbec and Cab off of Jet's property, and that'll become more relevant as when we go down one. But with the 15, it was just a straight Cab Merlot blend. It worked out beautifully. There was a no-brainer in 15. When I tasted those wines out of barrel and put that blend together, it was probably one of the easiest blends I ever had to make. The 16, the Cab Franc just offered a little bit of a dark note towards the back, about 4 and 5 on the palate. And I guess every time I mention this, I always get questions about what am I talking about 4 and 5. So just a real brief for those of you who haven't been here before. I just simply measure my palate in 6, 1 through 6. 1 and 2 is the front palate, 3 and 4 is the mid palate, 5 and 6 are the back. And that's just how I keep track about where the wine hits. It's not meant to grade one wine better than the other. It's for me as the winemaker that I get to kind of grade the wine about where I think it's going to hit. And then from there, I can start playing with the blends, different cabs, especially from Jet's Vineyard. I'm lucky enough that we have a high enough quantity of Cab and Merlot both that we end up with 4 or 5 different lots of Cabernet just from the one vineyard, 3 or 4 lots of Merlot. So it depends on how we ferment it, what yeast we use, tank versus barrel, aging protocols. We end up then being able to take that same cab from the same day of harvest, split it into several lots. It comes up 3 or 4 different cabs, then we can blend them back together and have a good Cabernet. So anyway, that Cab Franc.
I'm always reminded of the number of teeth people our age had left when they reached our age in West Texas. So when you talk about 4 or 5 or 6, usually it's.
You're on fire tonight, buddy.
Well, that was before modern dentistry, but Jan can remember those days, I'm sure.
Yeah, and how many fights those guys got into?
That's right. How many fights you're in?
Well, so Doc, back in the day, wasn't your dentist also your barber? Isn't that how it worked?
Back in those days, it was acceptable to shoot the dentist. I mean, if the jury would always let you walk on that charge. So
I see. Okay, so Why don't we go back to down to the 14 if there are no
Hold
other.
on, hold on. I got
Yes, sir.
another question right quick.
Yes, sir.
So we were talking about, these wines lasting years to come, they all get better. Do the Pierzines in the 16, does that help or hinder the wine staying where it's supposed to be in the bottle?
I think it helps. I think it's beneficial. It'll be a strong. Yeah, most of the great Bordeaux's have a lot of pyrazine, and it does very well over time.
Okay. Okay.
It does, but as far as preservative goes, the alcohol and the tannins make a bigger impact on preservation.
Okay.
So
And the 16 is a little bit more alcoholic than the 15. So
yeah, you know what? I should let me pull up that alcohol weight. I don't have the bottles right here in front of me, but I've got
14.1 versus 13.8, I believe.
right, absolutely, yeah. So the thing about alcohol, I've got it. The alcohol, I don't really pay that much attention to. The end of the day, we make the final blend, we take a final out, and it is what it is. It's, to me, if we can't taste it, if it's in balance, that's the more important thing. That I'm not getting a burst of heat up front. That the alcohol is not the dominant smell or the dominant position on your palate. So whether it's 15% or 12%, it can be hot either way.
Okay. I saw a reflection of someone in your glass panes there. Was that Jody?
Yes, that was the mysterious Jody who, because I said I didn't have the bottles in front of me, she brought all the bottles down. Now I'm not leaving the table. I'm going to just sit here and drink the rest of these wines. Yeah. No, so I've got the alcohols in front of me now.
I am paying.
I've decided I'm not leaving here till 2021.
Right. Look behind you. Exactly.
Okay.
That's 2 weeks away, buddy.
It'll be fine.
Okay, so the 14. Has everybody got a glass?
Oh, boy, the answer is wow.
Yeah. So this one, I'm happy. I'm looking up at the clock. So this has been just shy of 2 hours now, decanted. So it's, it's got more, I have to, for me, it's got more dark notes than the other two on the 14, and almost not like a deep saucier note in the nose.
I think the integration in this wine, John, is just, and maybe how much of this is aging, I don't know, but it's wonderful to see, grapes from the same vineyard over 3 wonderful years like this. And I think the aging process is a big deal here.
Yeah. So this one, we're going to start with the blend up front so that we can speak to the 3 different blends, because all 3 of these are slightly different blends from different vintages. This is 100% again, Jets Vineyard, the Diamante Doble Vineyards. The 84% Cabernet, 10% Merlot, and 6% Malbec.
The Malbec is speaking up.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's really,
I agree.
yeah, it's rounded it out on 5 and 6. That Malbec is speaking up. Brett, what do you get, sir?
I think the Malbec is screaming, even though it's at 4% or 6%. I think the addition of that is very interesting. I still get that kind of old school, like brambly notes, but they're still pretty bright. And this one to me is also like it's like a very chill. All those wines came together really well, and I think that as far as the addition of that Malbec, it's like it's jacking with my head as bad as what the Cab Franc was on the 16, I guess. Because you get hung up about what varietals taste a certain way, and even though it's 6%, you can pick up that little bit of Malbec on here, I believe.
I think so too, and I think this has got the best integrated tannins of the 3.
It's really heavy in the tannin department. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I'm overwhelmed by the fruit speaking out here, John. It's just amazing. The fruit's jumping out, both on the nose and on the palate.
Yeah. So somebody asked, Trish asked, are the vegetable flavor or pyrazines, do they have to do with the density of the canopy? Certainly they can, but Jet, we'll have Jet speak to that a little more. But the other thing too is by varietal. Some varietals just are a heavier producer of pyrazine than others. But Jet, what do you know is the heavier canopy? What kind of flavor components do you get?
Well, the gurus always tell me that if you've got a great big canopy, then you can expect to see a little bit more of the pyrazine effect in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the sun tends to help us get rid of the pyrazines a little bit.
So Kayla, what do you get on the 14?
Well, I do want to start off by saying that this was the first cab that I tried that I genuinely enjoyed. Whenever I began working at Becker, I was not a red wine drinker, and I never thought I would graduate to be a cab drinker. And this is just as beautiful as I remember. I do get all of those beautiful, lovely fruit components that everyone's touching on. And I know that we've discussed it's just a tidbit of Malbec, but I usually with Malbec get just a medley of fruit. And I do get this here. Like has been mentioned already, the tannins are beautiful on this. They're not overbearing or astringent. They're present. But overall, I'm just very excited to have finally gotten down to this wine. And I do want to remind you guys, mine are freshly opened. So they're a little bit different, I think, than perhaps what y'all are getting into, but it's a beautiful wine. I'm very excited about it.
Boy,
So Jet, can we, and we'll get Doc's impressions here in a moment, but before I forget, I wanted to get the impressions of the 14 harvest, especially coming in after the 13. What were some of the things that you noticed?
That's a long time ago, John.
It is, Jet, and you have a good brain, so I'm sure we can pick it for a while.
If I remember right, this was a wetter year
Mhm.
as opposed to the 15, maybe more akin to the 16. 13, if I remember right, that was a year where we had a bad freeze in the spring.
The 13 was, yeah.
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 And so in 14, this has a fair amount of smoke taint.
Mhm.
Not in the fruit though.
Right. Well,
We burned hay in the spring to ward off the evil spirits of the spring frost. Remember, I flew the helicopters.
yes,
Is
yeah.
that what you're trying to get me to talk about?
No, actually, I want to know. I love that story. I was more
Talking
leaning
about the
towards
harvest.
difference on harvest size, that the 14 wasn't back up to full production, but it
No.
yeah.
In fact, the frost did affect us a small amount, and so we came with a smaller harvest,
Mhm.
but still a blessed harvest because it was enough. And we made, in a farmer sense of we made a good sized berry. You know, you were like, well, these are nice, but they're a little big. And if I remember right, that's your comments is like, I'd rather have smaller berries. So that's a reason in 15, I made sure they were smaller berries.
You made sure of that, did you? Thanks.
Man, he sat there like stone cold straight face that. Like he could control the size of the berries.
I know, right? That's you got to be careful of Jet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He'll get you going. I do remember that, but I also remember how much it actually, we didn't get a full crop, but what we got was really, really good. The quality was there. 14 was also a year that we actually employed a fair amount of the Saignée on the Cabernet for the 14, even though we didn't have as much fruit. Starting to take that juice off as Saignée to increase that skin to juice ratio.
Okay.
Played an important part in 14 to me. That was one of
That's your way of reducing the berry size.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yes, to an extent.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's got to be done quickly. And what I've learned, about the distance and travel and stuff with the fruit between your vineyard and our winery was not just the preservation of the fruit in there, the chill factor and stuff, but the biologics that go along with that. So that's it. It's been a long learning curve. I mean, there's not a year that I don't learn something new and think, why didn't I know this before? So, but the 14 to me is a fantastic wine. It's a much rounder wine. this is a kind of a more classic Bordeaux to me. Of all the three, this kind of speaks to that. Where the 15 to me is more like a West Coast wine. It really feels more like a West Coast Mediterranean. So Doc, what do you get about the 14?
Amazingly, I remember going in Woolsworth when I was probably in Abilene and about 6 or 7 or 8 years old. And first time I ever saw.
Wait a minute,
That's way back there.
I thought Woolsworth didn't start until 1830 or 1840.
John, it was, yeah, it's early. It was early opportunity. But and the first candied apple I ever saw and tasted was in Woolsworth, and that's on this nose, and I'm surprised.
Was it liquid?
Candied apple, that is a great descriptor. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's what. But I didn't expect it, but there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you said candied apple.
I do. You know, those hard red ones. They're hard to bite into. You remember those?
Right.
Mm.
When you say Woolsworth, that reminds me of that movie. What's it called? And they threw the guy out of the, let's see, what's it called? They threw him out of the Woolsworth.
Yeah, that wasn't a movie. That was you at the age of 22.
I don't know that.
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my, yes.
Memories. Yeah, it's duking it out, and they got his butt whipped. And
Okay.
don't come back to the Woolworth.
Okay, Brett, what do you get out of the 14?
Seriously? No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
Really, Brett? Come on.
Really. No, and again, I go back to this, like, it's so well integrated. I mean, it's just a wine that all that stuff is tied together. And I'm going to go back, and Kaylin's been trying to text me, but I can't read it because it's on my phone again. But again, these awards that these wines have won, Jet, are just crazy. You know, like, we keep stacking these things up and we put them in, and thank goodness we signed that 5-year contract this year. So we're tied in for another 4 years, you know. But I can't imagine how many other wines in Texas have won this many awards from one single spot, you know. So, you know, kudos to what you guys are doing. And for the people that don't know, the amount of work that they're going to have to do to get their vineyard back from what happened last year is no small feat.
No.
Or no small task, and it'll be a giant thing for you guys to get that stuff put back together.
So what?
Yeah,
I am working on it diligently, and I'm not gone by any means. It kicked me around a little bit.
Chad, I want to know if you're sharing any of these tastes with Gay. I'd like to see Gay and see what she thinks.
She brought the bottles in, and she is back there twiddling her thumbs, waiting on the next bottles to show back up. I think. I don't know.
Give her a taste, please.
I think we'll be in for it, Brett, if we don't get Gay her replacement bottle.
Oh no, they're sitting on my desk already, ready to roll.
Those little tickets on the bins that she puts, you won't be able to read them.
Yeah. Is that because they won't be legible, or because we won't have eyes?
That's up to y'all. I don't know.
Yeah. So the 14 is absolutely fantastic. Now I want your opinion, Jet, on the vertical 14, 15, and 16. What do you like?
Okay.
Comparison.
So the 14 being as strong with Malbec as it is, and the 16 having the bit of pyrazines, which one will hold out the longest storing? The 15, I think, is going to be, it's solid in. It's not flabby, and it's going to just, it's going to be there for years to come. But I'm just wondering about the Malbec and the effect of the pyrazines in the 16. It's a minor deal, but do they last the same length of time, or?
Well, I certainly think the 15 and 16 have a leg up on lasting 15 plus years. I think the 14 will probably be in its own in the next 5 to 8.
Okay.
Personal opinion.
Personally, the Malbec's a little, it's not too much, but it's sure prevalent. And the tannic situation or the Malbec that's showing up is just, it's a little strong for me. I'm a sissy, I guess, but I like the 15. And the 16 is great, but those pyrazines just, I didn't notice them. Like I said, I didn't notice them until I tasted 15. Then I went back and I was like, wow, okay. So yeah, the double gold in the 15, it's hard to beat.
Well, I will say that the meniscus in all three wines is still brilliant. It still has that water edge and brilliant magenta and garnet. There's no browning on either.
No,
Right.
we're not anywhere near that. No.
Yeah. So we haven't reached an oxidative state even on the 14 yet. So we're really good. So Doc, the three comparisons.
I think if I sat down in front of any one of these by itself, I would love it. I have to say the 14 is my choice right now, is the best of the three. And then 15 and then 16. But if we had only one, we'd be very happy, I think.
So Brett, compare the three.
Here's why I think that this tasting is really fun. I think you start down the road of the basic blends are about 80-20 Malbec, Merlot and Cabernet. I think with the addition of the Malbec, it really kind of shows. I think that the addition of the Cab Franc kind of shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that these are so incredibly different as far as what they taste.
Mm-hmm.
And we always talk about at the winery, we try to make wines for the year that we were given. And John, obviously you did these for a reason, but I think that they are like indicative of the year. Mm-hmm. If you take the 14, which was the follow-up to the freeze of the 13, that obviously the Cab and the Merlot needed something to make it different, right? And then 15 was straight Cab and Merlot because of the fact that they were I think they were probably pure on their own, or they were better on their own. And then 16,
it was the easiest blend in the world to make on 15. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the 16 came along, and then I think if we had the 17 next to this, I think it's more Cab and Merlot again. Mm-hmm. And I think that the 17 may not have very much Merlot in it. I think it's more Cab. But this, to me, is a cool pairing just because you can really taste, if you taste across these three wines, mm-hmm. you get the sense of Jet's, Vineyard, but at the same time, these little nuances with the other varieties that we threw in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a classic of three children having distinct personalities, and they're screaming forth, and one of them's a dark-haired one, one's a blonde, and the other one's a brunette.
Yeah.
I agree. Well said.
Kaylin?
Okay. Well, to follow up all of the great words that everyone's already used, I think that it's beautiful to sit down and do a vertical like this. Being somebody that works in the tasting room with the public regularly, you don't often get to try different vintage years side by side. So when I began, I think there may have been a 12, and then there was the 13 Texas Cab because of the free situation. I remember there was a bit where I think the 14 and the 15 were on the menu together, and maybe a bit where the 15 and the 16 were together, but never have I been able to sit down and try all three in a row. And I think it's incredible to, one, get that sense of terroir like we've spoken about, but two, get a sense of what that vintage year held, what was special about it, what made it different. And they're all lovely. I have no children, so I can't speak on it, but I think it'd be hard to choose a favorite amongst them all. They're just beautiful. I think good job to all of you gentlemen.
Okay, you guys aren't off the hook yet. You know what's coming next.
Yes.
So we're gonna start with Jet, just to put him on the spot. Jet, I want you to pick food for these three wines. What would you do?
Mm-mm-mm. Let's see, pork loin 14,
Mm-hmm.
ribeye 15,
Mm-hmm.
and some kind of roasted duck on the 16.
Okay. All right. Fair point. So, Doc?
We had some beef bourguignon at our house last week that cooked for about 12 hours with the addition of at least 2.5 bottles of wine over the time that it was in the in the slow cooking phase. And I think we just have that and serve all three of them.
Mhm. I have to interject, Brett, before I get to you. Somebody just wrote a comment that just cracked me up. They say, Mike wrote the comment, I have children and the 14 is the best. I don't know if he means the wine's better than the kids or it's easy to choose.
Yeah. Well, and I always tell people when they ask that question at the winery about what's your favorite wine, I said, it's like my kids. It depends on how they're acting. You know what I mean? So if that kid is acting good that day, then they're the best kid, right? But, and that's really relatable to wine. And I'll, John, before you ask me my favorite thing and I respond, is Tenderloin.
Exactly.
I think that you could have these with almost anything. Like they're so good that they're like, but again, they're so different. It's almost not fair to compare what you're going to taste with each one of them. But I'm going to stick with that so Kaylin can have some comparisons.
Okay,
Oh, goodness.
Kaylin, what would you do for?
Well, I was planning on freezing these all and then taking them to my mom's house in Amarillo for Christmas, where we historically have done beef tenderloin for dinner every single Christmas that I can remember. So that is also my game plan. So I'm copying Brett.
Okay, though, I'm going to interject because you made that beautiful lentil stew.
I know. I thought about that too.
I'm thinking the 15 would go well with that. So just
I
so you know,
so.
that lentil stew, the 15 would go well with that. So that's
What's a
absolutely.
lentil?
So, pardon? What's a lentil? Oh my
It's
God.
it's a
It's
Jewish
something
name.
you should eat more of, Jet.
Sorry, I'm having too much fun.
And try something green that's from a leafy green. And
I
not
love
a green.
broccolini.
What?
I love broccolini.
Broccolini?
Hey, I was going to tell you when you asked me, I was like, I want a Caesar salad with some broccolini along with some Brussels sprouts. And that's all I'm going to eat for dinner, But Jet, what, you guys, you were giving them a hard time. Have you ever grown lentils? I don't know if they grow there. Is that something in
Is
your
that a
wheelhouse?
bean? Is that a bean?
I think so.
It's a legume, yes.
We grow beans.
Yeah.
I'm not fond of lentils, but on a bueno frijole I like a lot. So
Yeah.
Well,
So
Jet, I grew up on cornbread and black-eyed peas.
boy, that's
and-
what I'm talking about.
All these wines would go really good with really good cornbread and really good fresh black-eyed peas.
Yes, sir. And don't forget, throw a little bit of bacon or some kind of ham in there with the black-eyed peas.
That's just, yep, absolutely.
So Jet, what's going on at the farm right now that's not wine related?
Oh my God, it's dry. So I've resorted to this. We have this wheat planted on each end of the vineyard, okay? And we can't irrigate that. The drip doesn't irrigate out there. And we got just enough ice storm to get the wheat seed to sprout and come up. But it's not enough moisture to keep the wheat alive. So I have been going out there every day, and I've got a tractor with a manifold on the back that sprays water out. And my hand is bringing me water tank full of water and filling my sprayer, and I'm driving along at 0.4 of a mile an hour to spray water to keep my little baby wheat alive, because the winds are coming. I just don't know when. And the better chance I have of saving inside the vineyard to keep it from blowing is to have wheat on each end. I know this is farmer talk and it's boring as hell, but
It's not boring, no.
it's what we have to do to keep it kind of pristine and keep the evil windy spirits from degrading. But the positive thing is we are going to have a better crop this coming year than we had last year, because we have less bud damage. We've got more buds to work with, and it's going to be better.
Good to hear.
The rest of the farm is just dry, and we planted wheat, we watered it, and now I can't spend any more water or money on wetting the wheat. God needs to bless us with the moisture, and the sooner the better. And we're not noted for getting a lot of moisture this time of the year.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the interesting things about the difference between the crops that you guys grow up there as far as the farming aspect from row crops versus grapes is that the amount of water that the grapes take, you're saying that, you know, grapes can survive in the drought situation and be almost okay versus these other crops that you can water as much as you can turn the hose on and they literally will die. That's the difference in those crops.
Okay,
right?
but here, let's take home this little message. So if you don't water in the winter, you're not apt to have many grapes next year. If you have dry dirt where your roots are gonna die. Then you're starting from almost ground zero with a few roots being viable. And if you don't keep your soil adequately moisturized, you're going to have not much to work with come springtime. Whereas in the annual crops, the cotton and such, we can start later in the season. Of course, this should be September was the time to get underground moisture. Okay, and we build on that. We get spring rains. You already have an underground stored up water, and you get spring rains. Now we make a crop. If you don't have the underground season deep down, spring rains get you a crop you can start, but you can't do anything with it.
All right. And for
Grapes.
people that are not familiar with the grape side of this, all that Jet just said kind of ties into these three wines that we have and how hard it is for you guys to get us the fruit to the winery to make these three incredible wines, you know, and that part, like the tasting part that we get to do tonight is kind of the easy part. We get to get up and we're swirling and sniffing and giving descriptions. These guys that are putting their, you know, Jet's hooking up to a trailer and putting water out to hold the dirt down is what makes this stuff work. So, you know, kudos to you guys, Jet.
The wine tasting is the romantic side of this whole deal. I love it. Yeah, I get all perky. But going out and fighting the sand and the wind, not cool. But it is what it is.
Hey, Jet or John, how much did they have to fight sand in Napa?
Well, down at the swimming pool, we had to fight it a lot, especially when people started jumping in without wiping their feet off. It was horrible. Yeah, no, we had it so easy. 10 years in a row of, yes, this year's even better than last. I mean, you start running out of how good was this year, kind of thing. But I will remember 2011 was the first real phlox, noble rot issue that we had in 20 some odd years. And there were a lot of people who didn't know how to handle it because they were very easy, farming for 18 years, but never had any real issues. We come out here and there hasn't been a year since 2012, since my first year here, there hasn't been an issue to battle, to go out and figure out, to farm. And it's hard to convey, but when I tell people, I'm like, oh, in Texas, they have to farm, and everybody's like, yeah, that's why we call them farmers. I'm like, okay, thank you for playing.
Shut up.
Yeah. We say thank you for playing. But it is night and day difference. And then to be able to convey that this is as quality of fruit. I mean, you work 3 or 4 times as hard and you get fruit that's as good, if not better. It certainly competes on the international stage without a problem. Partners like Jet allows us to be the most awarded winery in the state of Texas. And I'm extraordinarily proud of that.
I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to be a part of it. So
I would add to that, John, but Jet, my hat's off to you. I know how hard this is, and I hope you know how much we appreciate what you've made here. Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
And give Gay
by
a
the
big
way-
hug for us.
The 14, I had it open the least amount of time, and it's just now finally opening up. And it's really, all of them are really good. Thank y'all.
Jet, go to Woolsworth's and have a candied apple. That's what.
I don't think I have a Woolsworth within 300 miles of me anymore.
Jet, it's okay. We had to tell Doc he couldn't go down to the train station and wait for his Christmas catalog anymore, too. So. So Kaylin or Brett, what's online for next week's tasting for the folks?
This was where I accidentally input the order to send the Canada cabs to Jet. So next week will be the 3 different vintages of the Canada cabs. It'll be once again the 14, 15, and 16 all in a row for a beautiful vertical tasting. So
Caleb,
yeah, that was me, my bad, Jet.
But except for Jet, who will be having Wilmouth cab next week. So this is
Yes.
it. This will be
So
good.
we need to send Brenna to the Wilmouth cab lineup for next week.
I
Just for
double
good
dog
measure.
dare you. I double dog dare you.
Not a problem.
I'll put John's name on it.
I double dynamite you. Yeah.
What
So
brand?
any notes from Lake Wobegon, Brett, that we need to say before wrapping this up?
No, I don't think so. I think that, we are doing our Christmas holiday shipping stuff for like gift boxes and all that kind of fun stuff. And it's been kind of overwhelming. I think Kaylin and the group in the wine club, we're not doing Christmas parties this year, but some of the things that have kind of popped up that have just kind of presented themselves to do a virtual Christmas party with your friends. And we ship the wine. We host it on a Tuesday night. Kind of like we're doing in this format. We kind of talk through the wines briefly, and then we get off the Zoom call and leave you with your friends, and you can have a virtual Christmas, party, and Kaylin, how many did you book today? Like 4 or something like that, I think. I mean, it's been nuts.
I'm working with about 6 of them.
Yeah. So this is part of the business side that we didn't really expect, but it's kind of a fun thing you can do with your friends. If you can't get together and you want a distance, we can walk you through a couple wines, and then the Zoom call will end on our part, and you can just hang out and try wines, and we leave it live. So that's been kind of neat.
Absolutely. Well,
Okay, so I got to straighten out something before I forget it.
sure.
So I know people have the misconception that Brenda was my teacher way back in high school. No, she wasn't my teacher. She was my brother's teacher. I've been having fun with it, but my brother said we need to straighten that out. So
You tell Todd there's nothing wrong with a perfectly good story.
he was the student, and Brenda, I was gone. I was long gone whenever Brenda came along. So I've been giving my brother a hard time about all this, and he's like, stop. Okay.
Well, Jet, you just took half of our dang Vineyard dinner discussion away.
Yeah.
Talking as Canada wasn't your teacher.
Now we're going to have to make up something else.
Well, okay. I gave you one early in the program. What do you call a Christmas tree in a chicken place?
Oh, jeez Louise. Okay, that's it.
John, what is it? Did you remember?
Yes, a poultry.
That a boy. That's good.
Oh, on that happy note, I want to wish everybody an absolute, and Jet, thank you for joining us again, sir. Taking the
Thank
time.
y'all for having me. How's Drew Talent doing?
How's what?
Drew Talent.
How's Drew Talent doing?
Yeah.
I think he's doing pretty well. I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay. Well, he's
Hey, Jet, I'll leave you with this.
okay.
Jet, I'll leave you with this. He still thinks he makes better grapes than you do.
Who does?
Drew thinks that all the time. He's bad.
Whatever.
All righty, guys. I want to wish everybody a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to next week. And until then, please be safe. Have a great glass of wine and enjoy some good company.
Tell Rebecca and Joe hi.
Yes.
We'll do it.
Salute.
Cheers.